Oh, Dave, 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 Dave. Someone should have told you that if you see a black woman reach into her pocket and grab a scrunchie to tie back and pull up her hair, it's already too late. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. The ninth and final episode of the first season of Smoke is here, called Mirror Mirror, and whew, it's it's going to be polarizing. Like, let's leave it at that. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Plays a lot of mental games, and it's definitely building and laying the breadcrumbs for future. Um, but I can see how this might rub a few the wrong way, considering how the last two episodes have sort of built up the stakes, and it doesn't really pay them all off in this episode. We start off the episode while watching Michelle sort of wallowing in the pity of what she has become. She's essentially become her mother. It's been a lot of parallels to her and Dave in this, and sort of seeing Dave be this arsonist and sort of her becoming this. We've seen scenes of her being sort of born in the fire and all of this. It's a good thing that we don't see her mom at all in this season, understandably so now, because they're sort of building her up to be the worst person, and we don't really need to see the mom to know that this is what she becomes. This Michelle is what her mother is. Maybe a little bit more of a facade that exists in front of her, but she's become her mom. While she's wallowing in the rest of the task force, Harper, Esposito, they're all at the site of Captain Steve's house, which is burned to a crisp. He's burned crispy inside of there, and then a Captain Pearson arrives on the scene, and she is a tough nosed, kind of racist police officer, played amazingly by Amy Carlson, who's from Blue Bloods fame. But she arrives on the scene and sort of assessing the situation. And Pearson asks where Goodson is, where Dave is, and they're like, he's with his ex, and he hasn't left there all night. And she's like, well, I call BS on that because this has happened. Another arsonist, and you're not going to tell me right now that another arsonist exists when we haven't even caught the other one. So, BS on you. And Esposito's pretty steadfast and like, no, we had a tail on him the whole time. My tails don't lose. He was there. And she gets some thinly veiled racism towards him, but they know each other. They have a history. And so she's like, what's your rank here? Like, you shouldn't even be here. You're retired. And she knew who he was before she asked what his rank was. But she's like, I'm going to put you in your place just so that everybody here knows about it. Harvey's there too. Like, just so you guys are aware. I don't care what you say. It's just she completely dismisses him, moves him off the ground, and tells Harper and Englehart, give me your reports. Also, is there anybody else on your team that should be here that I need to speak to? Because I'm taking jurisdiction. I'm running things now. You guys can all stand down. It's at that point that Harvey calls Michelle and gets Michelle to arrive on the scene. Michelle gets there, and Harvey goes up to her immediately. He's like, hey, I'm going to need you to stand down. While it is not completely evident, we are all aware that you and Steve had something going on. So just wait over there by your car. Let people come to you, because a lot of people are going to be asking you questions, and I need you to just sort of be in your mental state to sort of handle all of this. Michelle sort of plays it cool, kind of like, all right, say less. I will do that. So she goes out and hangs by her car. She sort of puts on the affectation that, like, I'm in pain, I'm in hurt, just in case anybody's watching. She also is actually in some pain and hurt. She's got a lot of conflicting emotions, I imagine, happening right at the same time. Forensics evidence is a person walking around the scene and finds the glove that was placed there by Michelle. And so he bags it up and takes it off. Michelle sort of clocks that. It's like, cool, at least that piece of this thing is going. While she clocks that, she also clocks that the neighbor next door had a camera that was pointing directly at the back of the house and would have seen Michelle doing all of her glory that night. And so she gets into a little bit of a panic mode and quickly has to start thinking, like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. What am I going to do next? She doesn't have much time to think because then Pearson comes over to talk to her and kind of asks her. They have a meeting that they've met before. Michelle had gone to a seminar that Captain Pearson had held before, and so they have some sort of ties there. But then Pearson sort of starts not grilling her, but asking questions like, how close were you to Steve? Knowing, probably hearing sort of the scuttlebutt that existed. But she's asking her some of those routine questions about that night, about the fight that Dave and Steve had the night before. She was like, yeah, no, that happened. And so she's leaning towards Dave, but she's just saying like, hey, I'm testing all things. I know you had a relationship. Let's keep that under hush. But on the real, I'm here to find out whoever did this. Like Steve was close to me. I really cared about him, and he's probably one of the best cops that I've ever seen. And while the bar might be low here, that means a lot to me. She's like, I'm gonna burn hell, fire and brimstone's gonna come down till I find out who is responsible for this. And so she's like a dog on her bone. That means Michelle needs to get that footage and get out of the way of this as fast as she possibly can because the walls are sort of closing in on her. So Michelle has to go to work, and she goes to a store to buy a ton of burner phones to put in the back of her car and starts calling her brother, Benji. She calls him to try to get help and say, hey, I'm in a lot of crap right now. And the brother gives a little crap, like, oh, big combat G.I. Jane's in trouble, needs my help? Cool. He's willing to help her out. Doesn't quite know what it is that he's getting into, but he will. Oh, he will. So Dave catches the news at Reba's place and quickly sees that Steve's house is on fire and that Steve is dead. And he goes immediately like, oh, crap, I'm about to be framed, which is not something that most people say. Even Reba calls him out. I was like, that's not a normal statement that people say. I'm about to be framed. But he's not wrong. He is about to be framed. He's being framed as he speaks. Dave then tells Reba's like, hey, look, if anybody comes asking you questions or whatnot, say that I was with you all night. And Reba's like, well, I can't quite corroborate that. I don't know if you were with me all night. I knocked out after you banged my brains out all night. So I was in a sex coma. I have no idea where you were. And Dave gets this serious look on his face and says, I'm going to repeat myself. If anyone comes over here looking for me or asking if I were here the whole night, you are going to say that I was here the entire time. Now, mind you, she also has a family, so she doesn't want to blow all that up. But she also is like, I don't know where you are. Like, as much as I think I know you and I know who you are, there's some gaps. There's some things that I don't quite know. And so the sex is good, but I'm not going to bat for you. And so she comes back to him. She's probably one of the few people that's not actively afraid of him and says, look, I can't swear to that. And I'll get out of my house. He's like, no, I can't swear to that. So no, you weren't here the whole night. And so then he takes off and leaves. As he's getting in his car and leaving, he pulls off, and Esposito gets the alert that he's on the move and that he's leaving that place and going to no other place but the precinct. That's where he's headed because there is no shame in this man's game. So Dave arrives at the precinct and starts talking to Harvey. And he goes in, it's like, I didn't do it. Now, originally he says, Harvey, I didn't do this. I didn't do this one. And then he's like, no, I didn't do this one. I didn't do any of them. Harvey's like, cool. I know you did one. I know it. And Dave says he was with Reba all night. And so this is where things get a little muddy because I feel like everybody on this task force knows that this particular fire seems a little weird and seems like Dave may not have been a part of it. But they're all like, look, you've done enough of these that we don't care if you did this one or not. This one's irrelevant. We know who you are. And so Dave's kind of like, well, Reba has back doors, as do other homes, all other homes. So you could have just gone out the back door. And it's at that point that Dave threatens him with the lake house piece of it and saying, like, look, what did you say to me that one time? If I go down, you're coming down with me. And Harvey comes back and was like, try your best. Let's do it. You killed a kid. So no matter what you say to me, it's irrelevant. You killed a kid, so go F yourself. Get the hell out of my office. I will go down in a blaze if you take me down with you. So he goes to his office, and then Michelle also arrives at the precinct. This is just getting messier and messier. Two arsonists in a room together. She arrives on the scene, and Dave quickly gives a little half-hearted, I'm sorry about your friend. And then they go back and forth a little bit. to the point where Dave's kind of like, well, look, if you think I'm this guilty person, why don't you arrest me? And he said, oh, yeah, you can't arrest me because you don't have any clues. You don't have any DNA. You got nothing. You got a book that is fiction. You got nothing on me. And then they get pulled away to a fire that happens. Now, it's funny when this fire happens, they get the nose like, you know what's good about this one? You know why I'm gleefully leaving this place? Because this is a fire that clearly I did not do. So then the two of them head off to the new fire. They arrive on the set of the new fire, on the scene, and it's an interesting situation. It's a fire at a tech lab that there was no incendiary device. It happened because of heat fixtures within the compound, and it just sort of blew up naturally. But it happened because a hacker so far away, anywhere in the globe, hacked into the system and made it occur. And you can see for a moment that Dave is completely confused and out of his element. Because he's like, well, hold on. That's not how fires are supposed to be set. Like, that's a little weird. It's an unknown entity for him in that when he didn't set it, nor to Freddy, he's not somebody that can actively sort of get under the hood and figure. Somebody who's doing tech, which is just unfathomable to him. But then he quickly gets the alert that the fire that Michelle said, the embers of it are floating through the air and setting other fires, and that's causing this massive brush fire to happen. And so it's about 30% taking over the city. And so he gets to like, oh, that's something that I know. I know that. Like, I'm back on my game. I'm aware of that fire. So he and Michelle get in their car and head towards that fire. So what's happening, like I said, the embers get into a wooden sawmill and then spread from there. And so Dave's actually able to sort of assess from where he's at the dust that's sort of accumulating in the air is from a sawmill. You can tell that he's getting a bit of a rouse out of this fire. And they follow behind and they're speeding their way towards it. Now, Dave is saying that initially they are going behind the fire, like the fire is traveling east, so they're kind of going parallel east with it, right behind it. And then they started engaging in a bit of a back and forth about how beautiful fire is in its form. He's talking about his first time with a fire and how it was one of the most beautiful things that he's ever seen. And he's like, look in front of us, like that is gorgeous. It's so unknown, so powerful. Like, he's just consumed by how beautiful fires are. And you can see that at the same time, she doesn't say anything, but Michelle's kind of intrigued by this beauty as well. She's sort of started seeing this sort of descent into her becoming a bit of an arsonist herself. And then he says to her, like, anything that can kill, we should hate. But I don't hate the fires. I don't. I love them. They're beautiful. They're art. They're like, he's feeling this for them. And Michelle asked Dave, like, do you love them? He's like, I do love them. And in this moment, you can sort of see them both having a kind of like gazing into that fire, like an appreciation for the fire, appreciation for what it does, the madness and chaos that it consumes, but the art and beauty of it. And it's a scary thing that both of them are showing on that same page. While the title is Mirror Mirror and it comes back later in the episode on face value, there's a lot of parallels between the two of them, and they are each other's mirror. It seems like he's going to go calmly into this place, but then he decides to go head first and start speeding full blast into the fire, going dead smack into the fire, to the point where it seems like he is willing to end it all himself and take her with him. Michelle is like, nah, we're not playing that. So she pulls out her gun, and it's like basically like, hey, stop the car, stop the car. She asked several times to stop the car. He will not do it. She holds a gun point to his head. He still's not listening. So then he shoots out the window, and he kind of like rattles a little bit more. Like, oh God, this chick's gone crazy. And then he unbuckles Michelle's seatbelt and then goes head straight into like a tree that she then flies out of the car, and his airbags go off because he knew he would get stopped. So he's like, cool, I'm going to send this chick flying. She goes flying out the windshield. We get a bit of a black screen to show that they're like disoriented and in a coma. And then he comes to, and he's like, cool, she's out through the window. My plan worked. She should be dead. And then you just see her standing in front of the hood of the car, looking ominous as like it starts to clear up a little bit. The smoke starts to clear, and you see her standing there. And then she does what I think any person, if you're not aware, you should be aware. When a woman of any ethnicity, but specifically a black woman, takes her hair and puts it in a scrunchie and puts it behind her, you know you done effed up. And so Dave was laughing hysterically, like, ha ha ha, I got you. You're outside. And then he sees the scrunchie go up and he kind of is like, oh, well, that seems like a problem. But she's ready. She's ready for war. She pulls out her gun and just starts firing on him, emptying clip after clip after clip. I think she does 3 clips in that moment, just firing at him. None of them hit. Maybe I think one might, but most of them they don't hit. Nothing to the point where it's fatal or actually hurts him. He's trying to skirt. He's trying to get up out of there. As he's trying to get up out of there, he runs into a rock back, like behind the car. So he's just stuck. He can't go anywhere. So then he gets out of the car on the side. She follows him and just starts stomping his ass out. Kicks him in the balls first and then just stomping him, kicking him, beating the holy hell out of this dude. And then I think she's actually about to kill this man. She pulls out her gun and puts him almost sexually into his mouth, is about to pull the trigger. But then a storm happens. It rains. And so the rain is going to wash away the fire. So the thought of dying there that night has gone away a little bit because the fire is going to sort of elevate it thanks to just the weather. But I think if she stayed in the fire that was still going to happen, she would have shot that dude right there. But because now the fire is dissipating and being calmed, so okay, cool. I'm going to read you your Miranda rights. So with the gun in his mouth, she starts doing the right to remain silent. That whole spiel. She starts walking him out the bridge away from the major part of the fire, and Esposito meets them there. And Esposito is pulls up with a truck to kind of give them transportation to the precinct. And in that, he delivers information that, it turns out that glove that was at the scene had Dave's DNA all over it. And Michelle's like, well, how about that? And so they get into the front, and Dave immediately knows, like, oh, I know who did this to me. I know where this is coming from. Damn it. All right, Michelle, you got me. You got me. While all of this is happening, Benji is using the cover of the emergency system as saying basically everybody should stay away because of this massive fire that's spreading. He uses that as a cover to get into the neighbor's house to look at the video cam footage that was present on their security cam. He enters the house, he looks at the video, and he gets a kind of smile on his face like, all that mess you've been talking about, mama, all that mess you've been giving me this whole season about how bad of a person mom is. Turns out you're just like her. You are her. And so you can't keep mom at bay anymore if you have become the exact same person. But he does do what he said for his sister. He deletes the files, but not before downloading on a USB drive for himself. So that sucks for her. And that, yes, in the immediate, Captain Pearson and anybody who's looking for the video cameras won't find anything. But her brother's got him. Just in case sis steps out of line. We're going to bring mama home because I got this. And you're going to shut your ass up. So Michelle and Espo bring Dave in. They're sort of doing a perp walk down the precinct. Cops are giving her the head nod of like, good job. And she sort of gives a smirk to say, like, I made it. Like, this is what I wanted. This is going to move me up the ranks. She knows that this is helping her. Meanwhile, everybody's giving Dave the stank face. They're elbowing him, kind of stiffening him up, giving him stiff elbows as he walks into the precinct. She delivers them to them, and then Dave says, I want to talk to her. And so she has to go sort of get herself prettied up and dossied up because she looks like a hot mess. She goes to the bathroom to sort of brush her hair and just kind of get back into her groove. And she starts seeing visions of Steve. Just to let you know how crazy she's going. But it's definitely having a mental break on her, all of this stuff. She starts seeing visions of Steve, and Steve's like, look, this probably ain't going to work. Probably going to come up and eventually someone's going to unearth this and say that this Dave's not the person who did this fire. And when they do, they're going to open up all the skies they possibly can for a cop killer. Because the one thing that does not happen in this world, cop killers don't go unsolved. And it's 1,000% success rate. So, yeah, they're going to find out. May not be today, may not be tomorrow, but it's going to happen. She brushes it off, and then she goes into her interrogation. Pearson gives Michelle sort of a heads up before she goes in, like, look, you're on a thin leash, but go in there and give it your best. She goes in there, and Dave is sort of talking to her, but also talking to Pearson, and I forgot the lieutenant's name, that's behind the glass. And he's like, look, I see how I got here. I can see how you put me here. I respect it. I understand it. My DNA was on the glove. I have no idea how my DNA got on the glove. But I'll give you guys that. You got me there. Now, it's important that Dave knows full and well that Michelle is the one who set him up at this point. But he's not really just dropping a dime completely on her at this moment. He's not doing that because he knows for the most part he's dead to rights. And in this, they're going to take a cop's word before his. But he's pretty much like not throwing her under the bus yet. He gives some veiled shots, but if you don't know the full context of it, it's not going to mean anything for the people that are on the other side of that glass. But then Dave continues on, is like, but this is other stuff, this attempted murder, all this is just BS. She never wears her seatbelt. Like, she never puts her seatbelt on. I was just driving. She got upset. She shot out the window. I got rattled. I ran to a tree, and then she flew out. Like, that's how it happened. Everything that she says or they present, he sort of has a quick counter to it. Like, but this. He then says, like, I don't know what my glove on DNA and having DNA behind the scene of the house proves. It's not in the fire. It's not in the house. It's behind it. Like, I don't know exactly what that proves. And he's like, this all feels very thin and circumspect. Like, you shoot out, you got my book. Everything isn't on the up and up. My book is the reason why. That's fiction. It's not real. So then Michelle's like, okay, well, cool. I have a particular passage that I want to read from. So she reads from the passage, and it pulls up a passage of the book that talks about incendiary device that uses paper and charcoal at one of the scenes in the book, similar to the hardware fire that Dave remembers assessing before. And Dave's like, yeah, I investigated that. Big deal. Like, I used that material to put in the book. Michelle then catches him saying that, well, hold on. In your report, you listed the cause of was indecisive. You had no idea what the cause was. Subsequently, that hardware store, so that they could get their insurance money and not just like lose out on everything, they had a private investigator look at the fire. And the private investigator, using sealed records that no one else saw, stated that the device used to set the fire was paper with charcoal dust. Only people who can know that are the private investigator and the arsonist. And so he's kind of, you could see Dave's kind of like, oh crap, I'm losing it. Everything that she's saying, she's now, in the diner scene episode ago, that scene ended with him taking the power and her getting lowered down and lowered down. Now it's leveling back out. They're equals, and now she's taking back over. Dave kind of shoots back, well, or the lawyers were talking, or the private investigators were shooting the shit out of the bar and somebody overheard. Could be anything. Michelle says, like, no matter how many things that I throw for you that are facts, you always have something to come back to say, nah, that's not the case. And he's like, yeah, it's because I'm innocent. Dave then says, hey, he sees his mother in the same place that Michelle sees her. He's kind of throwing the mother card back at Michelle. He's like, yeah, I'm suffering from mommy issues. You're also suffering from mommy issues. Remember, you're still that little fat girl whose mom's tried to broil her up like a sirloin. Like, he is going into madness and starting to show his true form and true colors. And so the sheen that he's having is she's chipping away at it. It's starting to go away to the point where we get a reveal of who he truly is in just a moment. But Dave says, I am the fault of a crappy mother in a crappy environment, just like it's a faulty car that gets delivered by a car manufacturer. That car manufacturer is at fault. Why aren't we? And Michelle's like, well, because we have choices. We have a choice to make all of this. And that's when Dave's kind of like, well, hold on. Hold on. Who have you loved? Who have you hurt? He knows that Michelle's behind this, Steve. He's like, who have you hurt? And trying to sort of get under the skin of Michelle. So for that it's starting to come even back up. He's starting to get her because you can see her gripping her legs. She's starting to kind of get angry and upset and about to probably lash out. And Dave continues on. It's like, we are our appetites. We are more than just our choices. We are appetites, and you can't change an appetite. An appetite's not a choice. It's an appetite. Like, if you want to do this is your thing. Which Michelle gets out of it in this because she gets some information from Espo in a second, but you can tell that she does have a hunger and an appetite for this. And it's not necessarily for arsonists, but doing whatever it is that she needs to do to get ahead. She's willing to do it. But Michelle says, when you look in the mirror, do you even see yourself? Like, or do you see Donald? Like, which version of yourself do you see in that mirror? And he looks in the mirror and he sees Donald. And what we see is the chiseled jawline, the Taron Egerton version, the chiseled jawline, the good-looking, suave man that we have seen him sort of portray and exude this entire season. It's not who he really is. That's the character in the book. And that is who he's been portraying. So that's how he is shown. But he is actually looking like, I won't say, but a nondescript, attractive man, more like a Wiggums from Simpsons. He's very heavier set, kind of a schlumpy looking guy, not the prototypical guy that you have been presented this whole time. And so that's funny. That's fascinating to me because all these people in this orbit have been seeing that version, and he's been presenting as the person that we have sort of seen. So it's a sort of a play on the audience to be like, yeah, we've been presenting him to you as he sees himself, but not how the world sees him. And how you feel about that is going to decide how you feel about this season as a whole. I love it. I think it's brilliant. But it could come a little too late because it happens within the last 2 minutes of this entire season. While this is happening, Esposito gets an idea when he looks at a car that's being towed away. Like, hey, wait a minute. Where is his car? Because if he was just coming from a fire when he got hit, his hideout information, his uniform is going to be in that car. So he gets a warrant from Harper, who expedites a warrant, and they go to the towing yard to go look for his get up. That's a little bit of searching. They find his glasses, his cloak, and his basically his uniform, his Arsonist 101 uniform. And he takes photos of him and sends to Michelle in the interrogation room, and then she kind of that leveling up where she's about to sort of reveal and say like, "Hey, I'm about to mop this dude up," goes away because she now realizes she's got the edge again. She shows him those photos, and you can sort of see Dave just melt. He knows he's done. There's nothing he can do. And so for the first time ever, the visage of who he presents as Dave is gone. And now we're seeing the true version of Dave, basically Donald. That Donald piece goes away. And now this is the true Dave. And we get it back in it if the audience is not catching up or slow enough that we start seeing photos that Ashley and Dave took where we see the frumpier, not as jawline chiseled Dave as we had been seeing, and we sort of see him for the first time, his true form, his true essence. And while this is happening, while we sort of see the pulling back of that arrow, he's just saying, "Hey, that's not me. That's not me." We see a shot of him following the frumpier Dave and good-looking Dave form behind in the store. It's like, that's not me. That's not who I am. I'm a hero. I'm the hero. I'm not that person. I'm not this. And we see him look in the mirror again, and we just see the frumpy version of himself. And so the show ends with him in frumpy form, the true form of who Dave is, looking at Michelle, who is not quite in her true form. And so the mirror piece is, yes, a piece of what he's seeing in the mirror versus what we have, as an audience, has been seeing. But it's also, he has now entered into his quote unquote not attractive phase, while Michelle has put on this facade of being this super pretty girl, but that quote unquote fat girl who got stuck in the fire from her kid, that's who she truly is. That's the ugliness that Michelle truly is. And so they are each other's yin and yang. They're tit for tat. They are the same person, but they are at different points of their career in arson and fires, because Michelle's is just getting started, and I feel like she's now kind of sort of an appetite for it, and I don't think it's going to stop. I think if anyone sort of gets in her way, this is going to come up again. So I loved it. It's a full circle moment. I don't think this is the end of this series. I think we're going to get a season 2. Everything sort of leads up with the brother having the footage. Mom still hasn't quite come out, but she's going to probably be a major fixture in the next episode. And I think that task force, probably with Pearson, probably pulling at some of the strings, saying some of this stuff just doesn't make sense. And obviously, Clifton's not dead. And so while in prison, he's probably going on parole and law and doing all this stuff. And some of the stuff's going to start coming out, and they're going to have to figure some of these things out. So I'm excited for whatever happens in season 2, but I know this particular ending may not be the best for everyone, but I liked it. I like it. You're playing these sort of, who are we? Who are you? You present as this the super attractive, pretty black girl from poverty, but you're still that girl who shunned your mom away more because you're like her than it is because you're not like her. You don't want anything to be with her. And then you got Dave, who has shown his true self, and he's sort of been putting on this affectation of like, I want to be that pretty guy. I want to be the person that everybody's bangs. And it makes everything that sort of happen when like, oh, have you been banging Dave? And she's like, ooh. Her response makes more sense in that, like, I was like, oh, he's not a bad looking dude. But to her, he wasn't traditionally attractive. It makes those couple like Reba's attraction to him, or the one woman that picked him up at the supermarket, like it makes some of those things that much more interesting, in that his confidence exuded in that moment was so big that no matter what he looked like, he felt like he was on cloud nine, even though he presented as this frumpy looking dude. I might have to rewatch this season back, just to watch it with the viewpoint that everybody is seeing the true Dave. But I liked it. I liked it a lot. What did you guys think about this final episode of the first season of Smoke? Go ahead and leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on X at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name. That's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.